Meanwhile, ACDP leader Kenneth Meshoe says says the whole political arrangement of a possible opposition coalition is now on shaky ground because of moves by the DA. The main opposition says this after the DA announced they are going to have their own mayoral candidate in Johannesburg, saying it will not be dictated to. Now, opposition parties comprising ActionSA, the UDM, Freedom Front Plus and the African Christian Democratic Party have urged the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, to negotiate coalition government deals with honesty and integrity. For analysis on this, we're joined by political analyst Sandile Swana. Very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us. So, in their reaction, the parties conceded that Steenhuisen's comments had the potential to put the coalition at risk. Now, I'm wondering, is this a recognition of the weight carried by the DA in these coalition talks, the power play?
I think we're in a very difficult situation now where brinksmanship and the ability of people such as the DA to test their power is being put to the fore. As to whether by late afternoon tomorrow they'll still be standing on that position, it's another matter. So for now, you must remember that the smaller parties that were partnering with the DA, in any case, they've got no prospect of being in power other than through one coalition or another. So they've got, in a sense, little to lose. But from the position of the sector as a whole, it would be better for the DA to participate in a coalition that eliminates corruption, eliminates the general incompetence, and the many years now of deteriorating services in the municipal sector. So the DA has a chance to do that. Yeah.
The other smaller parties talk about honesty and integrity in the manner in which it expects the DA to conduct itself. Now, all of this happens after the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, he dismissed the request made by the other smaller parties in negotiations without even communicating this decision with prior communication to the coalition parties. So the question is this a partnership of equals, especially given the fact that this announcement was made after the other parties had endorsed the DA mayoral candidate in Tshwane?
Yes, that's why I'm saying it's a show of power. It's an attempt, let's put it that way, to be a show of power to the other smaller parties. The only problem with such shows of power is that they could equally backfire, because it may well be that the smaller parties will simply say they want Herman Mashaba there or nothing else, or nobody else. And even when Mashaba stands for office, they will vote for him. And politics being politics, we don't know whether the ANC will want to side with the DA or side with Mashaba. We don't know at this point in time what is happening behind the scenes. But the DA is not a partnership. The DA is trying to say it's not a partnership of equals. That's the message that they are sending across.
Now, the party said that they have no understanding of the DA's intentions from this point on, saying it would seem that the DA would proceed to council meetings next week without formal agreements with coalition parties that offer any comfort to residents of these municipalities, as you've just outlined what could possibly happen. But I'm just wondering, what are the variables, what is the agenda on the table at that meeting of opposition parties right now? Because they have to work through these scenarios.
They have to work through the scenarios. And I was struck by General Bantu Olomisa's comments on this, to say, perhaps even the major funders, such as the Oppenheimer family, may have to speak to the action, to Herman Mashaba and Steenhuisen, to say, come back to your senses and make this deal of the opposition, because there is something that the ANC has been doing that is wrong in running municipalities that cannot be allowed to continue beyond this point. So you and I right now, we don't even know what is happening behind the scenes and which entities and organizations are actually influencing the negotiation right now.
So, I mean, effectively, you're saying we don't know who the ventriloquist is, who the puppet master is, and in referring to the Oppenheimers, I'm thinking these are the same Oppenheimers who also funded the ANC's campaign. So do we really know what the aim of the funding is? What is the outcome for ordinary men and women who've gone to the polls to select a particular government in a municipality or metro?
Yeah, it's very difficult right now. Unfortunately, there are certain things that are clear. If you're looking at the politics of the Northwest, where it has been most dramatic, in the Northwest, you've had load shedding, water shedding, and investment shedding. Companies, because of the failure of municipal services, have been abandoning the Northwest program. And that prospect faces Gauteng as well, and it faces Swana, it faces Johannesburg, to a degree, it might even face Ekurhuleni. So the people who represent business, such as Oppenheim, have got to be asking the questions, which is the coalition that can actually deliver these services, which are urgent and necessary for business. But fortunately for us as residents, that's exactly what we want. We just want the electricity to go on every day, the water to come on every day, and investments to happen on a continuous basis. So that is where it is. And we just have to be sincere and honest and say, who are the players? The voters are not the only decision maker in this process.
Does it make our democracy a fallacy, and by saying that would by-elections serve us better because of all this infighting between parties?
No, bear in mind that where we are today is also a part of the architecture of our constitution. This idea of proportional representation, we have people who win once and we have people who are added in the way of proportional representation. So what our political philosophy in the constitution says is that we want a mixed political governance system. In other words, even if you are in power, your power must be diluted by proportional representation. So our parties have got to actually, more especially the DA, IFP, and the ANC, have got to come to the point of actually accepting as normal and constitutional to have a coalition government and not a monopolistic dominant party government in municipalities and elsewhere.
Well, thank you so much for your time and insights. Political analyst Sandile Swana.